How you doing, beautiful people? Saleem here, hosting Necessary Conversations. Thank you guys for all your support so far. I really appreciate it. It doesn't go unnoticed. If you watch Benny's episode of Slim TV with me featuring on, I told you guys merch is coming soon. It's here. We got colors in red, blue, black, and yellow. If you want to buy one, support a brother at King__Messiah on Instagram or at AIC on air on Instagram as well for the AIC Radio Instagram page. Support a brother. Get with me. Necessary Conversations, baby. Appreciate y'all. Welcome back to Necessary Conversations. I'm your host, Saleem Messiah. I got Frank Borrelli, the illustrious Frank Borrelli.
The illustrious? I'm not so sure that's true, but thank you.
Why not?
I don't know, Saleem. I don't have a very high opinion of myself because I think it's a waste of time. I think humility gets you a lot farther in life than anything else.
Do you feel like if you don't put yourself on a high pedestal, who else will?
I don't think it's one's job to put themselves in a high pedestal. Mm-hmm. I think it's the job, well, not the job. I think it's the option or opportunity of the people they serve to do that.
Well, since you are the assistant dean.
One of the assistant
deans of the School of Business and Arts.
And Sciences. It'll be my duty, because you serve us as the students, and I'm one of the students you serve, to give you your high pedestal and your illustrious. Oh, how lovely. That's great.
Because I told you the other day, your class is one of the best classes. If not, I think I liked graphic design because I didn't know how to.
And Leslie, you have Leslie Tane?
Yes,
yeah, she's great.
She was great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Journalism with Patrick Johnson when he was here. He helped out a lot.
Yeah, and he worked for the Republican newspaper for many years, so he had a lot of professional experience.
Marty, great directors, great class.
Yeah, of course.
And then yours.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
The Theater of Society. When I first took the class, I was like, oh, man, we got to act. I don't know. I got to get on stage and act in front of everybody, act plays. And then we get there the first day, and it's just completely different. How did you come up with, like, a curriculum to talk about?
For that course?
Yeah, for that course.
So that course originally was I don't know if it was a required course or a elective option for the theater major. When we knew that we were going to be making some curriculum changes, I identified that course as being a potential interdisciplinary course because, as you might remember, around the pandemic, we changed our general education structure at AIC to different requirements and different areas of focus and the like. And so one of those areas was interdisciplinary. And so we were all kind of asked to think about existing courses that could be expanded or changed or what have you to become an interdisciplinary course or to create new ones. And I think this is a good course to do that. Originally, it kind of studied theater movements and how it reflected the society. And so now the course is studying major social and cultural movements and breaking them down and talking about them and screaming about them and debating about them, watching lots of videos about them, reading about them, as I may have just said. And at the end of the class, students develop, as you know, a personal manifesto or a way of thinking about the world, about a certain subject, a certain identity, a certain way of doing things that they want to affect change around. And they'll create a preamble and they'll write it and then they will deliver it in class or wherever they deem appropriate. And past students have delivered their manifestos to their teams. They've delivered it to their families. They've delivered it to the recently retired president, Vince Maniaci. One of them did that for him. And so it's just an opportunity to tell people how you see the world and how you feel it should be and what needs to be changed. And I think students shouldn't be afraid to be vocal and perhaps radical at times because the world is a very different place from when I went to college. I didn't worry about social media because I didn't have it. I think I had MySpace. MySpace and Meetup, that's all we had.
Meetup, I never heard that one before.
Meetup was truly just I wouldn't even call it an app. It was a website where you would have a page, from what I remember, And you would just connect with people and say, oh, we're going to meet up at this place for lunch. And then we'd just meet up for lunch, and that was it. Or we're going to meet up for this meeting in this place, and we just meet up for the meeting in that place.
I just heard a high five in my space.
A high five I don't know about.
No?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So that, and I had a cell phone, was a flip phone with 3 or 4 numbers in it. My mother's number, my grandmother's number. And it was like a prepaid thing, right? I had a laptop, but it was like honking, like that thick and that big. It was a very different time.
Yeah.
Very, very different time. I'd also say, I mean, at the time, college was expensive, but it is what I paid when I went to college, the challenges that were posed to me as a college student at that time, 2001 to 2005 ish, just pale in comparison. Pale in comparison. So I believe because a college education is extremely expensive, no matter where you go, there's lots of additional expenses, books and living and room and board and travel and all kinds of things that we have to think about delivering a different kind of college education to students that's more experiential and hands-on and ensures that they have a really strong foundation in the discipline of their choice so that they can be marketable and they can find employment and they can be a larger part of the world and contribute and benefit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From all of their work. I think the days of, the ivy covered buildings, in college education, higher education, at Yale and these places, those days are over. Yeah. Nobody cares about ivy covered buildings. Nobody cares about caps and gowns. Nobody cares about the legends associated and the majesty associated to higher education. Yeah. They just want an education. They want to be able to get a job. They want to be able to have a good life and afford a house someday and a car and be respected and have their voice heard, which is why I'm so glad that you're doing this podcast and that other students are sort of becoming wise to the opportunity as well. Yeah. And I appreciate you allowing me to come on because this is your platform. So I don't need to take any of your time. So thank you.
When did you? Because you said our college time and your college time is completely different, and you mentioned the changes and the differences. Where do you think that kind of started? Like, where did you notice the change in that?
I don't know. Well, so I graduated undergraduate in 2005. I graduated graduate school in 2008. So 2008, you're probably too young to remember this, but 2008, there was a big market crash, right? The biggest, the worst, market crash since the Great Depression, and that's when President Obama came into office and, in many ways saved the economy and saved the world economy. So that affected a lot. I think it started with that recession, big time. But I also think with a lot of those changes came curriculum changes. Often in higher education, programs, initiatives, and this is not just at AIC, I think this is everywhere to a certain extent, are based on individuals or small groups of people. Right? Oh, for 30 years, this person ran this literacy program and it was wonderful and it supported millions of students. Well, that person retired. Yeah. And then the program fades away. Yeah. Right? So I think that higher education is looking at sustainability. I think it's looking at cost and value to students. I think it's looking at more innovation than the typical fields of study that, let's say, students would blindly choose. Yeah. We can offer, majors in cybersecurity. We can offer majors in graphic design and in, business and the sciences and in the health sciences that are innovative, right? That think outside the box, that link students directly to the demands of today and not 10 years ago.
sure.
So I don't know. I mean, why all the changes? I just know that I've experienced them. Yeah. And I've worked and taught at the college level for about 16 years. But this is my 12th year at AIC. One thing that I think never changes is that students are students. Yeah. Right? I don't have any kids. I have no interest in having biological children, but I have lots of godchildren, and I have lots of children. Yeah. My students are my children. I really believe that. And I don't care if, every student knows my name or if they even like me. I just want to make sure that if they take my class, that it is an impactful experience and that they leave with a keen, perhaps a keener understanding of the world, of themselves, and of each other.
You talk about you wanting kids in your class to leave with those type of experiences. And, we talked about I take your class, and every time somebody comes in, it's good morning, how you doing, nice to see you. Anytime I see you and, outside of the class, you're smiling, good morning, how you doing? Like, where did that, happen? Because everybody goes through something, but it's like you never show that, like, I'm having a bad day, just leave me alone. Like, at least from when I've seen you. Where did that come from in your life to, like, just always be happy, always to, no matter what you may be going through in your own head, you'll still, give people the great, good morning, how you doing, nice to see you.
Well, I'm not always that person. I'm a human being too. You know what I mean? I get angry and I get frustrated and I get overworked, and I'm that way sometimes here. I mean, we all are, right? Yeah. Students are exhausted because of classes and sports responsibilities and internships and clinicals and jobs and family and all kinds of pressures, right? Yeah. I see student athletes walking around campus all the time with bags of ice tied to their body. I mean, that can't be easy, that you're in horrible pain while you're trying to, sit through an anatomy lab or, you know what I mean? It's not easy. Sure. I just know that you gotta, at some point, put out what you want back. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't want to condescend to students, and I don't want to tell them that they should do this because this is right. I just want to kind of model a way of being human that reminds them that they are too. If you remember, the other day in class, we were talking about the AIDS epidemic and how there was an entire generation of people wiped off the face of the planet, right? And that there are still countries in the world where people are disproportionately affected by HIV/AIDS because they do not have access to medications or they do not have access to the kind of support and advocacy and so on. And two young men toward the back of the room were giggling about something. Yeah. I'm convinced it was not what we were talking about.
It was.
Oh, it was?
It was.
It was. Interesting.
Was. Yeah.
Saleem telling on people.
Yeah. But it wasn't bad, though. It wasn't bad.
Oh, well, whatever it was, it was. Yeah. I mean, they laughed at something. Perhaps they found something funny. I don't know. Yeah. But if you remember what I said to them, I said, is something funny? And they said, no. And I said, well, I hope not, because I see you as a human being.
For sure.
And they both looked like they'd seen a ghost. Yeah. Like, oh. Then I talked about that Latin phrase, that homo sum humani nihil a me alienum puto.
Because I don't know how to read that still.
It's okay. Yeah. Well, it's embedded in the teachings of Dr. Maya Angelou. That it's on my arm. I think to answer your question, I try to lead with that every day. I don't always succeed. But I also think, well, let me tell your listeners, your millions of listeners, I know they're out there. They should be. Yeah. That phrase, homo sum humani nihil a me alienum puto, is Latin, and it means I'm a human being. No one human is alien to me. So I believe that. I believe that I can talk to anybody. I believe that I can afford and should afford respect and dignity to everybody. And I sometimes don't get it back. But that's true for everybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can say hello to somebody and they walk right by you. Yeah. You hold the door for somebody, they don't hold it for you. I mean, little things. But I believe that it's my duty as an educator and a higher ed professional to make sure that all of my interactions with students, even in difficult circumstances, because there have been them, I've been on a disciplinary panel, or I've had a challenge with a student in a class, or a student's going through a lot of stuff and I'm there to help them, that they just know that I'm a friendly person.
Yeah.
That's all.
For sure.
I think it's interesting because we all make judgments. I know how I present to the world, and I understand that to some people that's, perhaps disconcerting or slightly uncomfortable. What I notice, though, is that what I know is I try to put people at ease. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm pretty humble about who I am, so I don't take myself that seriously.
Yeah.
I just am who I am.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
When did you realize you wanted to be like an educator? Was it like, okay, because people say, I want to be a teacher, but did you know, like, I want to go to college. I don't really want to be in the kids' elementary schools or the middle schools or the high schools? Like,
well, I love children. I have godchildren. I love them dearly.
yeah.
But I also love when their parents come and pick them up.
Yeah.
So I don't want to change the poopy diapers, and I don't want to, deal with the fits of rage about a toy or something. I just don't want to do that, and I'm not going to ever. In college, I'm working with adults. Okay, yeah, young adults perhaps, but college students, especially today, right? They come back after a period of time and absence, and they're, professionals in their field, and they're coming back for a master's, or they're coming back to finish a bachelor's, coupled with the 18 to 21-year-old, college student. But I don't know. I had a really fantastic teacher in college. I studied theater, and she was, still is, she's around, she's retired, just everything I needed her to be. She was a mother. She was very maternal, but she was also very tough. She would read us to filth if we tried anything in front of anybody. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
I remember once in a class I thought I was real smart, and I was talking about something I did not understand. I think it's so funny students don't think I know. I know. Yeah. I've done it too. Right? I have not done the reading, and then I've tried to fudge my way through a conversation about the reading. You get what I'm saying? I've skipped a class before, right? I mean, this is what it is. I mean, this is part of the development of what it means to be in college. I'll never forget, she said to me, yeah, don't talk about things you don't understand. You sound ridiculous. And I thought, okay. So she just inspired me to be I don't know if it was to be a teacher, but to teach. And then I worked in professional theater and liked it a lot. And I still perform a lot outside of professional theater, more independently. I realized I love teaching because I could make somebody's experience better. There's a lot of power in being an educator.
Yeah.
You can really screw somebody up, or you can really build somebody up.
For sure.
And I've been tough on students before because I think it's important that they realize their potential and their fullest potential. But toughness is not abuse, right? Toughness is love, care. You have to do this. Keep going. You can do this. It's going to be okay. Just dragging me and them through the mud. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know. My aunt was also a teacher for many years, and I would help her set up her classroom and stuff. So I loved that. Yeah. I don't know. I just like it.
I'm glad you became a teacher.
Well, thanks.
Sure. For sure.
Thanks.
When did you get into theater?
When did I get into theater? Probably when I popped out of the womb.
Yeah?
Oh, always. I was always singing, screaming, jumping on furniture, making a spectacle of myself. Always. Yeah. Always, in all ways. And my mother is a very quiet, humble, unassuming person. My late father, was a very magnanimous figure. My grandmother was too, very magnanimous. And I just loved it. I played Santa Claus in kindergarten because I was the biggest kid. And then I didn't understand that. Yeah. Years later, I see that video and I take offense. Yeah. Let's get the little fat kid to play Santa Claus. But it kind of bit me there. I just loved the applause. I loved making people laugh. Yeah. And who doesn't love to be, at some point in their life, as a kid, especially the center of attention? Yeah. I was the only kid. I was the only child. My parents divorced and got remarried. My father had 2 other children, but they were much younger than me. Mm-hmm. And so I was the baby. I was the baby in an Italian-Spanish family. Mm-hmm. I was the firstborn grandson. Boy, oh boy.
It comes with a lot. I'm one of them, yeah.
Wow. A lot of pressure, a lot of privilege.
Yeah.
And I could admit it. I mean, I grew up with a lot of love. I grew up never wanting for anything. I grew up with a lot of supports that I know a lot of people didn't have. And I think one of the first steps to realizing your privilege is to realize your privilege.
Yeah, for sure.
And to say, you're right, I did have that. And I know that other people don't. So when I'm working with other people, I'm not just going to assume that everybody has what I have or had what I had. Mm. I think life plays tricks on you, though. Because growing up, I had everything I needed. Mm. Everything. Love, stuff, family, house, school, vacations, holidays, everything. Yeah. And then I realized more about myself personally, who I am. Mm-hmm. And then life started to get a little harder, right? Yeah. I started to experience some discrimination and homophobia and those kinds of things, and realized that, well, in a way, this is good. Yeah. This is good for me to experience these kinds of things, because there are people who did not have the childhood I had, who experienced them, and they had a crappy childhood and they have a crappy adult existence, and they never experienced that kind of wraparound love that I did and do. So I thank God every day that that's the case, but life shifts. Yeah. You know what I mean? My entire father's family, for the most part, both my grandparents, my father, are now gone. A lot of extended family, they're all gone. And what can I say? You figure out who you are pretty quickly when you realize that, you're moved up in the line. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. My father died in December, and didn't have a great relationship with him, but I loved him, and I pray to him all the time and about him. Mm. But I'm 41. Yeah. He was 72. So it moved me up in the line.
For sure.
Right? So I'm happy to step into that space where I might have to struggle more in my life to be who I am than be the little kid who just was surrounded by people who protected him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? No one has to protect me anymore. So but I'm grateful they did.
Now you got to kind of be like, okay, you're the next person in line to carry the lineage.
That's it.
How long did it take you to realize that, like, okay, I am the next person in line?
Pretty immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a saying that a boy does not become a man until his father dies. Mm. And that's not true. I was a man a long time ago. Yeah. But I came to that realization when he died. Mm. And I thought, wow, I just experienced a parent dying. Wow, I'm 41. Wow, I have about equal time in front of me that I do in back of me. Mm. So I'm really middle-aged. Yeah. Wow. Like all of this stuff started coming to the surface. And so, yeah. Oh, you just come to terms with that stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You grew up in Massachusetts?
Mm-hmm.
How was that how different, what part of Massachusetts you grew up in? Springfield, really?
Mm-hmm. So, born in this area, and then, I don't know, very young.
Yeah.
Family moved to West Springfield, and then went to high school there, went to college, went to grad school, worked around, and then found a job here. And I'm convinced, I'm very spiritual.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that my grandmother sent me this job.
Yeah.
Convinced every day. So her name was Anne Borrelli, and she was an amazing woman, just unbelievable. And she, after grad school, as I said, the big recession hit. I was having trouble finding work. I was teaching at like 7 or 8 different colleges at one time, adjuncting and working professionally as a performer, and it was a lot. Applied to a lot of jobs. Applied to a job here, and within, I don't know, a couple months, she died. So I'm convinced something knew that she was going to go and that she sent it to me. So, yeah, it's been a lot to be here for this period of time. And, no institution is perfect.
Yeah.
No matter how they look on a commercial or how they, you know what I'm saying? But I believe that there's something very real and very special about AIC
For sure.
and about its students. It has never changed, ever changed. There are students I'm in touch with still that were some of my first students here. And they're doing wonderful things in theater and other things. I've worked with students who have passed the bar exam and students that are now physical therapists and doctors and cops and, psychologists and sociologists and performers and communications professionals. In fact, you remember Rose.
Yeah.
She is now a mayoral aide to Mayor Sarno.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Isn't that fantastic? That's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
That's amazing. I mean, she is a contact for you, Saleem. She is part of your network and you are part of hers. You got to stay in touch with her. She's got to stay in touch with you. You all have to stay in touch with each other. You never know. You could hire each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You were just mentioning that a few friends of yours and you were going to do a podcast later in the Stinger and invite people to come around and listen and eat and whatever. Yeah. That's fantastic. You should market that as a group. That should be something that you continue after your undergraduate life. Yeah. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So, yeah.
I think we follow each other on LinkedIn. We connect with each other on LinkedIn. So
did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me and Rose.
I was like, we did?
Yeah, me and Rose connected with each
good.
other on
I'm
LinkedIn,
glad.
So
Yeah.
that's how I seen like her situation. Because I remember last spring we had a class together. I forget the teacher's name, but it was a communication class. She worked at like the zoo or something of the case. And she had a class and she was just mentioning how she was working with the mayor and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. That's interesting.
But, I think what's important for college students to remember is that sometimes you actually craft your own opportunity.
Yeah.
That if you wait for somebody to drop something in your lap, you might be waiting a long time, right?
Sure.
You got to be tenacious. You got to be courageous. I'll reference Maya Angelou a number of times because although she and I shared very few identity markers, if any, certainly not race, certainly not gender, certainly not age, our perspectives, our pedagogies are the same. And, well, she influenced mine, let me say.
Yeah.
She said always, when you go into a room for an interview or go into a presentation or something that is very important and you need support, you say, everybody that's ever loved me, I want you to be with me right now. Everybody. Mom, dad, great-grandpa, you've been dead for 10 years, but I need you. Yeah. My friend, my this, blah, blah, everybody that ever loved you. And then you go in the room, this is what she said, and you go in the room and then people don't know what there is about you, but they say, oh, he has charisma. Or she has charisma. It's not charisma. You have all those people in back of you. That's what she said. Yeah. So that influenced me a lot. And because, as I said, I had a lot of love growing up. And so I take those people with me. Sometimes I'll shut my office door in a particularly hard day and say something like, I called my grandmother Nani, Italian. I said, Nani, please give me some strength. Or I'll call out one of my friends who passed away, Greta. I need you. I mean, just like I put that into practice, and she was right. She was right. You just get like a wave of I don't know what it is. So
like angels behind you.
sure, yeah.
I'm gonna try it. You mentioned earlier you asked us in class like what was our first experience with Maya Angelou, and you like love her so much. What was yours?
My first experience, or the first time I was made aware of Dr. Maya Angelou was probably in high school when we read I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings as part of a senior capstone, like prep for college, all kinds of books we read, all kinds of novels and stuff. And we read that, and I was just so just blown away by this woman's story. If you're not familiar, that text really is, she wrote 7 memoirs. It's her first one, and it talks about her life, as a young woman, and that she was raped and didn't talk for 5 years and memorized, read all the books in she lived in Stamps, Arkansas. So this is the Jim Crow South. It was the black library, white library. She read all the books in the black library and all the books she can get her hand on in the white library and memorized Shakespeare and Langston Hughes and all of this. So when she started talking, she said she had a lot to say. Yeah. So that's how I was introduced to her. And then I heard she was doing a book signing in New York, and I was in New York. I was in grad school, and I went, and I think it was her like 6th book or something, and I had her sign it, and I shook her hand, and that was really something. I also knew that her and Oprah Winfrey were very close, and she was very formative to Oprah Winfrey. And again, I have very little in common with Oprah Winfrey. Yeah. Right? I'm not a woman. I'm not a black woman. I'm not a black woman of her age. I don't have her money. I don't have her perspective on the world. Very different. I just appreciate how she's the career that she's developed, and how she shares her wealth with people.
I wasn't able to see like her early beginnings.
Oprah?
Like her show, her show. But I remember doing a lot of Black History plays at church, and it was always an Oprah character.
Yeah.
It was always an Oprah character, and just learning some things about her being the first person to get the shows she was on and things like that. So I was always like...
And the crap she went through.
Yeah.
I mean, people commenting about everything. Her hair, her nose, her weight, her this, her voice, her ba. She's a woman, and then she's a black woman.
Yeah. That's all you need to get criticized.
And she showed them.
For sure. For sure.
She showed them.
She has her own network now.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Nobody can touch her.
Only thing is, I read something about, like, she's leaving her money to her dog. That is insane.
Where did you read that?
I think my mom told me. Told me. And she's big on Oprah because I remember she watched her last show. I remember she was cooking Sunday dinner. I remember this just like it was yesterday because I'm going to tell you why. Because she was cooking Sunday dinner, and I was really hungry. This is after church. I'm starving. I'm starving. And all she's doing is she stops. She's watching. And then she says something like, I wouldn't have been able to do this without the one and only G.O.D. And my mom was like, amen. And I'm like, all right. I'm trying to just...
Like, Ma, I just want to eat.
I can't say nothing, so I'm just watching. And then she's keep watching. I'm like, so, like, is dinner going to be ready anytime soon? You ask my mom, I got to eat. I got to eat.
And well, we share that.
Yeah, she never, loses the chance to tell me she has to feed me and 2 younger kids that are bigger than me now. So when I go home Friday, I'm going to see how much.
They're bigger than you?
Apparently. Last time I was there in January, they weren't. They were close, but they weren't. So
how old are they?
17 and 15.
Oh, growth spurt territory. One summer, you can gain 2 feet. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I hope not.
Jeez.
I really hope they're not bigger than me. I really hope so, because the days of me beating them up is over.
Well, isn't that what siblings do, though?
No, as an older sibling, I'm supposed to beat them up. They're never supposed to beat me up. Once they're able to beat me up, we're done fighting.
Yeah, but I mean,
Then we're
I
done
don't
fighting.
know. My siblings were so much younger than me. We never went through that.
It's no way me as an older brother could have to lose the fight. I just at this point I don't really fight them. I just pin them down and then I just lay my weight on them, and it's up to them to get me off of them.
That's an easy way. Just
And they think and I tell them, because they play football, so I'm like, you're really out of breath. Like, I don't know what this football thing is for you and things like that. But in reality, you're not realizing I'm not doing anything. Because I'm not losing my breath at all. I'm just laying on you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my mom, I got to eat. But what was your experiences like in high school in Springfield?
I was actually in West Springfield for high school.
Springfield.
I don't know. I was an old kid. I was old.
Like an old soul?
Oh, yeah. Old. I mean, I used to go on vacation a lot with my grandparents. My parents were divorced, and so my grandparents kind of took me away from a lot of that. My father's parents. And they had a house in Florida. We went down there a lot. It was beautiful. Beautiful. And they would buy me these, like, I don't know why, but they would buy me these, like, costume jewelry rings, fake diamonds and fake this and fake that. I mean, cheap, turn your finger green. I loved it. It looked like Liberace. I had rings on every finger. And my grandmother used to love Home Shopping Network, like QVC, all that stuff. So there was a store in Clearwater, Florida, the QVC or Home Shopping Network store. And so I went in there once, and I loved this silk jacket. Yeah. Right? So I bought like 3 or 4 silk jackets they bought for me. And I show up at school in a silk jacket and a ring on every finger. Target.
Silk jackets?
Not the store, like Target on my back. Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? Please. Oh, I was in high school 97 to 2001.
Yeah.
Okay. I was out. I was gay. I didn't really know it at the time, but I was very queer. Yeah. And I was wearing silk jackets and tons of rings. And I loved theater. Yeah. I mean, I was like, bring it on. Yeah. I never had like major horrible problems. I was always a big kid, so nobody ever like tried to beat me up or jump me or anything. But they'd say horrible things, But I don't think I'm in touch with one person from high school.
No?
Not one. Not one. I don't believe so, that I can remember. I'm not sure I would recognize them if I saw them. They certainly wouldn't recognize me. I've changed too much.
Interesting. Not one person from high school.
No. Well, 2001.
Yeah.
Do the math.
Is that based off of, you? Does your friends that obviously you didn't go to high school with, but your other friends from here or just meeting outside of your work, like, do they have the same experience? Like, they don't? Because I try to tell my brothers, like, don't worry about what people say in high school. Like, you're not even going to be relevant to them in like 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. But is that like an experience just from, the older standpoint? Is that like an experience most people have?
I don't know, actually. I'm not sure. I mean, I think some of my friends who are also like LGBTQ sort of on that spectrum, aren't in touch with people from high school, and some are. Yeah. Some had fantastic experiences and were celebrated. I was kind of celebrated. I was treated with some respect. Because I think I was the only out one. Yeah. Right, years later, you heard, this one came out and that one came out. And people do that, when it's right for them. But yeah, I really don't remember a lot from high school. I remember 6th and 7th grade. Yeah. It was the best time.
Why?
Oh, it was wonderful. I had the best teachers. I had an English teacher named Mrs. Gumlaw. And she was just like... she was so great. And she had like choppy black hair and lots of jewelry and big earrings. And she'd make a lot of noise, when she, with her heels down the hallway and her jewelry. And I was always fascinated with her. Yeah. And she was a good teacher. Mm-hmm. And she may have been the one to introduce us to Maya Angelou. I don't know, maybe. But her and other teachers, I had a history teacher who was just a nut. He was a nut. He was crazy. Yeah. But he made us excited about history and made a clown of himself. But we loved going to that class. You know what I mean? It was like, we got to go figure out what we're going to do today. Yeah. And yeah, so I don't know. I think a lot of my friends of my generation don't see high school as a very formative period of their life. They think of college as sort of being that. I think one of the major differences between my college generation and yours is that we actually had to meet up and talk to each other in order to communicate effectively, right? I feel like your generation of college student, they can communicate over multiple platforms immediately about anything. You never have to meet. You just don't.
For sure.
FaceTime, all that stuff we didn't have. And so we would have to meet up, have to solve problems, have to, figure out what we were going to do on a Saturday night,
It wasn't like posted on social media like
No, there wasn't social media.
Yeah.
And what's posted on MySpace? Ooh, I love this picture of an apple. I mean, just like weird stuff. In fact, I just deleted my MySpace not long ago.
Really?
Maybe a year ago. I found it and I was like, oh my God.
You remember the password too?
I guess I did. And I deleted it. I was like, this is frightening.
You was looking at it like, what was I thinking here?
What was I thinking here? But even now, I only have one platform.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't have time for anything else.
I go on my Facebook sometimes. Like when I go on, I don't use Facebook as much anymore. My dad sends, I don't know why he's on Facebook, but he sends me stuff on Facebook and things. And I don't know why they made it to where you have to download the Messenger app and the Facebook app separate. So now I have to download the Messenger app and I see what he sends me. But every time I go on Facebook, it's like a throwback and it shows me a post of something I wrote in 2012. And I was like, what?
18 years ago, you said this. Who cares? Who cares? It also, and we know from internal documents from Facebook and Instagram, that it has a negative effect, particularly on young women, body image and so on. We know it, and we're not doing anything to regulate it. And that makes me very angry.
Yeah.
We know it, but we're not doing anything to regulate it. I'm sorry. Free speech is free speech, but anything that makes young people, devalue themselves or that makes them feel that they are less valuable needs to be regulated, needs to be diminished. We can live without social media.
Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately, that's not going to happen.
I don't think so.
We're not going to live without it. It will probably outlast us. I just grew up in a time where I didn't need my cell phone. It was nice to have, and I love my cell phone now. But I didn't need it.
Yeah.
I didn't need my laptop. I didn't need my tablet.
If you left it at home, it was just like, okay, I left it.
Or I didn't own it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I sometimes worry about students when I only see them on a device.
Yeah.
Like if I see the same student 2 or 3 times in a day, we just happen to walk by each other. I'm thinking, God, lift your head up. Lift your head up. Look around you. See the world. I think one of the easiest ways to figure out who you are is to figure out who everybody else is.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're able to see like, okay, I don't really want to do that. I don't feel like that's right. I like how.
But you have to be like this.
You have to be laser focused.
Yes, you have to be like this.
Yeah.
And especially today. You don't know what's true, what's not true.
Yeah.
In terms of, these conspiracy theories and there's so much anxiety about the presidential election and so much anxiety about inflation and about, the war between, Palestine and Israel and Gaza and Israel and Ukraine and Russia. And, it's just, there's so much negativity. And I see it on students every day. If I hear somebody say, oh, I don't understand why the student's so negative. Did you come up in a world that had all these conflicts in it? Did you pay for college, what they're paying for college? Did you experience the kind of pressure from social media and otherwise that they're experiencing? I would venture to say you have not.
Yeah.
You've not. So we may not be able to understand it fully, but we can at least be open and sensitive to the fact that you are experiencing it.
For sure.
Maybe that's why I say good morning to everybody, is to get a response.
Did you always have that grace? Did that formulate at some point to be like, okay, wow, like these students are going through these things. These students are going through this, that, and this. And I really wasn't. I was going through my own things, but I wasn't going through these things. Maybe I need to understand that and have more grace to what they're going through. Was that always you as an educator?
I think so. I think when I was younger, I was a bit more scrappy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That I'd be like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? What's going on? Come here. Come talk to me. Now I'm less so.
Yeah.
Now I'm a bit softer. But I just think, basically, Saleem, I just think it was because I experienced a lot of love in my life. But this is the other thing that I experienced. My grandparents and my father were the best people. My grandparents in particular, loved them very much. They taught me so much. They gave me so much. My parents divorced and they still supported my mother. I mean, when does an ex-parents-in-law do that? I mean, they still helped my mother. We lived 5 houses away from them. There are big issues with my father, but I think as you age, you realize people can just do what they can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you just say, okay, you did what you could do, and you move on. But they really saved me. But there were times that they would say and do things, and times where my father would say and do things that I just thought, what? Like, that's so wrong.
Yeah.
I would just be horrified. And I'd feel like I wasn't like them, and I didn't want to be like them. My father and grandparents owned a music store downtown. It was right across from the Civic Center, which is now the Mass Mutual Center. It was called Main Music. And I would go there after school sometimes. And just the way my father would treat certain people, I just thought, God, that's so horrible. You know? My grandparents were the administrators of a group home in Springfield as well, called Lara Joni's. And they owned it for 30 years, more than that. And it was for people who had experienced, some mental illness, some cognitive delays, drug and alcohol addiction and the like. They owned 6 houses on Westminster Street and St. James Avenue. They had a main house, 3 meals a day in a dining room. They had workers there. They had the nurses on staff, their medication put up, their laundry done. It was dormitory-style living. They had people cleaning the houses. I worked there every summer of my life. Some of these people were like uncles and aunts to me.
Yeah.
And I remember my grandmother saying to me after I experienced a resident in that group home have an overdose in the dining room that he had used on his way to the main house, and he had an overdose in the dining room. And I was crying. I didn't know what to do. And, they pushed me away and they called the ambulance and they did what they had to do. But I was crying, and she said, stop crying, stop it. She goes, you are no better than him. Stop being afraid. You are no better than him. And I just thought, you're right, I'm not any better than him. He's a human being, and that's the philosophy that I had.
Yeah.
I can read a person to filth. If they want to start with me, I'll read them to the foundations of the earth. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to be malicious with me, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm ready. But you got to pick and choose your battles. You know that.
Yeah, for sure.
We all face adversity somehow, some more than others. And I think that's another reason why. Good morning. Nice to see you. I never know what a student's coming in from. And I've learned this over the years. This wasn't inherent. I don't know if they're coming in from a, abusive relationship, if they're coming in because they're raising 2 siblings and they have all this pressure, if they're coming in from a bad practice where the coach screamed at them, or they're experiencing depression or whatever.
Yeah.
Good morning. Nice to see you. Often, if you notice, I don't get a response, particularly from the students who are late.
Yeah.
Good morning. Nice to see you. Because in a sense, it does call attention to them, but I want them to know, although they're late,
That's all good.
you're still a part of this.
Yeah.
So come on in and sit down and stop being late. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now I noticed that. Like I feel like, dang, why don't? But I understand. Like I try not to be late to any class because I don't like to. If I'm late, I'm like,
You're there early.
yeah, because I don't like to. Everybody just look at you like, why are you late? Oh man, yeah, that's anxiety driven. So I just like to get to class early and just get in my seat. And I like to sit in specific seats. So if I like get there and then my seat is taken, now I gotta sit.
Well, but you also imagine you got to lay of the land.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And you find out where you're comfortable, and so you sit there. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So I like to get to classes early. But you mentioned your experiences in high school, like, and the discriminatory things were said to you. Like, how did you go through those things? Like, how were you able to just, like, okay, you might be saying this, but this is who I am. Like, I don't really care what you're saying.
At first, I tried to change myself to make people like me. So, like, I would buy friends gifts to make them my friend. I would, I would run myself ragged to be something I wasn't because what I was not good enough. Yeah. And then I realized I just don't care anymore. Yeah. Some people might say, well, Frank, you wear makeup intentionally, you make yourself look a certain way, and so therefore people look at you and stare at you and you're making yourself a target. Well, yeah, some have said that to me, and to them I say, screw you. To me, I want to look on the outside how I feel on the inside. Mm-hmm. I want an arched brow. I want a contour. Mm-hmm. I want a theatrical look because that's who I am. Mm. And it also is related to my gender identity and my queerness. And let's be real. Makeup covers imperfections. Yeah. Come on. Hello? Yeah. Everybody had got a big zit in high school. They take a little foundation. I mean, it's just, that's the way it is. I mean, it goes back before the Egyptians, right? The ancient Egyptians. So, I don't know. I will say, I don't want to change the subject, but recently I know there's been a lot of either miscommunication or frustration about changes that I see and all kinds of things. And it makes me so sad because I believe that this institution, more than most, can partner with the students at this institution to make it a better place.
For sure.
And, I won't speak for them, but I know that the administration feels that way and wants that too.
Yeah.
I just want to, wherever I can be a bit of a conduit between the two.
A bridge, yeah.
So, administrators can make mistakes too. Students can make mistakes too. Nobody's perfect.
For sure.
But I think people's hearts are good and their intentions are good. And there's so much stress related to college stuff that almost any decision sometimes, is met with deep concern and the like. But I'm just proud that it seems, you correct me if I'm wrong, it seems we're in a place where there's some kind of language that we can engage in now about some of these challenges.
Yeah, I feel as
right?
though, yeah.
And I think that that's a good thing. It's a really good thing. We can solve them together.
Yeah.
And I don't love the four walls of this place. It's ridiculous to love in my opinion, to love a place.
Yeah.
I love the people. I love the students.
Yeah.
I came at a time when some people were still here that represented like what AIC always was. Naomi White-Innes, longtime director of multicultural affairs, one of the individuals responsible for the founding of Pride, along with others. Tina Tui, who was director of auxiliary services here for years, who was just a toughie and knew everything and how to do things and how to get things done. She was the best. Dean Swanker, Dean Swanker has been here, I won't say how many years, but she's been here many years. And she has held many roles here, and she knows this institution. She knows it backwards and forwards. She knows what's worked, what's not worked, the history, who we worked with in the past, who we've not worked with in the past. She knows. And we're better for having her. Certain faculty members, Professor Rogers, John Rogers, he's instrumental in so many of our business programs. Instrumental. Professor Jill McCarthy Payne, longtime professor of criminal justice, maintains her status after retirement as the faculty athletic representative. And good thing. She gets it. Yeah. She gets it. She's tough. She's raw. She had a background as a prosecutor. She understands how to support students and how to get things done. She gets it. Yeah. And there are still some around for whom that is true. But a lot of them are gone. You know, they've died, they've retired, and they represented to me exactly what it meant to work here. So I met Naomi White-Innes when I first came to AIC. She had, I think, already retired or was about to retire. I don't remember. It was 12 years ago. But I met her, and she said, I've heard about you. Nice to meet you. Just remember, any decision you make at AIC should have a student at the center of it. And if it doesn't, make another decision. Welcome to AIC. And I thought, oh, I know where I am. Yeah. I know where I am. She left very soon after, or perhaps was already gone, and I met her on campus. I don't remember. And then she passed away. And then I got involved with Keyshawn Dodds, who took over for her as director of multicultural. He's the director of the Boys and Girls Club Family Center now, and has been for a number of years. Great guy. I really got connected to him, and I worked with him, and I hung out in his office, and that's how I met a lot of students on campus, especially a lot of the Pride kids. Yeah. And I got involved in supporting the fashion show in whatever way that it needed to be supported, because I thought this is so important. Yeah. You know, I was a theater professor. This is a performance. All these students are coming together to do this. So some of my first theater students got to know me because I was involved in somehow supporting the fashion show. So I'll say that to everybody here. If every decision you make does not have a student at the center of it, make another decision. You tell me if I'm off base, please. I don't believe that students care about the business end of things. I don't believe that students care about how much we make. No. I don't believe that students care about I don't know, accreditation reports and all kinds of things. They care about their experience. They care about what they're going to get for their money, and they care about each other.
100%.
And I believe that there are people in the administration of this institution who agree with me and want to wipe away barriers and want to provide endless opportunity and want to provide all kinds of services to students that they know they deserve, because students think about their experience and their friends and whether or not they can get a job. I mean, am I off base?
No, it's telling the truth.
Okay. So, I don't think that they care as much about our experience at the institution as faculty and staff. They care about their experience as students. Yeah. And we have to care about that too. And if we have concerns about things relating to us, then we need to deal with that on a completely separate basis. Yeah. That's it, right? I can tell you firsthand, abundantly clear, alumni, immensely, from as far back as the 50s. I mean, we've had students come to plays, we've had students come to fashion shows, we've had former students certainly to homecoming. They care. They want to support students here. They want to give money. They want to give back. They want to come back here and support somehow. They want to do it. Yeah. So, when students graduate, there isn't an influx of money, that's for sure, from college students. I mean, college students will have debt and so on, but the presence is so important. So important.
For sure.
And there's two reasons I've stayed at AIC for 12 years. Mm-hmm. The students and the students. Mm. One, the students because I believe that I can help. And two, the students because in some ways I see myself in all of you. Trying to figure out who I am, who I'm going to be, where I'm going to be, with who, what's going to happen. Some anxiety about that. You can all kind of go through that together.
That's what college students go to, for the most part.
Yeah.
I read the article.
Receipts.
I read the article to you yesterday. And I want to read it again because
Okay.
When I looked up, your name, and this article came up, and I read through it, and I was like, "Wow, this is crazy." So this is you speaking to a reporter, I guess, from Mass Live when you first got hired here.
2012.
2012, and you said, "In this new vision for the theater program at AIC, I believe in the potential for a full degree program to be developed on campus," Borrelli said. "In addition to what the program currently offers, I am working to design new courses in performance, theory, and technical theater, including courses in design." When you look back on that article, that quote that you gave from 12 years ago, how do you feel about it now, 12 years later?
Well, that was done.
Yeah.
That was accomplished. The program ran for 11 years. 31 productions were produced that I directed with students.
In 11 years.
In 11 years.
Sheesh.
Summer, fall, spring, community involvement, everything. Internship placement, recruitment, job seeking, resume development, auditions, space development. We developed a costume shop, a set design shop, developed all those stocks of materials. And I have students from that program who still work in the related fields.
Yeah.
Recently, we've made some considerable changes to the curriculum in this area. Mm-hmm. So my role was professor of theater. And then a couple years ago, I was asked to consider becoming an assistant dean in the School of Business Arts and Sciences to support Dean Swanker's office and some initiatives out of that office, along with Dr. Sego from the psychology program. And so she and I are assistant deans to Dean Swanker. And the challenge was that I ran the program by myself for so long, and then my role shifted, and I wasn't able to teach all of the courses anymore, and I wasn't able to direct as many productions. And so then the pandemic hit, and interest waned in theater considerably. And I think simply because students wanted to study something that they know had a guaranteed career, not recognizing that regardless of what you study, there's no guarantee career.
Yeah.
Let me say that louder. Regardless of what you study, there is not a guaranteed career. You have to work for it. You can go to school for nursing and pass everything and then not pass your boards, and guess what?
You don't get a job.
You're not a nurse.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee in anything. So over the last year and change, there was a discussion about looking at the curriculum in the Division of Arts, Media, and Design, which is now what it's called. Yeah. You are a student in that division.
For sure.
And looking at what has been effective, what needs to be changed on behalf of students. And so the decision was made that all of our existing programs needed to be phased out. We needed to create new ones. In some ways, based on the foundations of the old ones, right? But expanding upon them, creating more experiential opportunities for students to work in the field, more 21st century experiences in the classroom and the like. And so theater arts, visual digital arts, communication, public relations, media communication studies, digital media communication are all programs that we are phasing out. If students are currently enrolled in those programs and they want to continue with those majors, we will offer those programs to them until they graduate, 100%. For those students that want to matriculate into one of these new programs, some of them already have, which is fantastic. We will offer them those as well. So those programs formally launch in the fall. Those are arts and entertainment management, digital media production, which is sort of the technical arm of communication and broadcasting and the like, podcast development, public relations and social media administration, and graphic arts and design, with 2 new minors in fashion design and merchandising, and music technology and production, with a new minor in creative writing, looking at an updated minor in Spanish, updated minors, not just in this area, but in general in like advocacy for social change and other things like that. So what we did was completely remade a division from top to bottom, redefined its spaces, had a very large capital improvement request approved. So in the summer, we're going to have some updated technology in this area. We're looking at, as we've discussed, developing a graduate program. So it's wonderful.
For sure.
So what I've learned from it is I loved the theater program. I'm glad it was here. It's here still for one student who is continuing in it, which I love. And he's finding a very individual way through it, and I'm working with him to make sure he gets everything he wants out of it. But I also recognize that things are around for a reason and for a season. And you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to say, okay, this isn't working anymore. Let's go to something that is working for students. For students. Hi. I didn't realize you could actually see people through it. The Speaker Emerita, Nancy Pelosi, of the House of Representatives, she always says her why for why she ran for office was the children. The children. Always the children. Always the children. We need health care for the children. We need education for the children. We need, certain legislation for the children. Well, I guess I feel the same way. You're not children, but you are students. We need programs for students. We need the programs to be 21st century, exciting, experiential, that directly connect them to their field, that are, yes, still artistic and engage critical thinking and writing skills and analytical skills and all kinds of things. But I think we can look at the programs and say, is this more reflective of our 20th century, or is this reflective of now halfway through, the second decade or third decade, should I say, of the 21st century? It's that simple. I could have never thought of having an opportunity in 2003 in college to have a podcast. No, that wasn't a thing.
For sure.
And so you have to shift with the times. You have to. And so what came of it? Lots of student interest, lots of opportunity, discussions about, a capital improvement plan, a new way to recruit students. I'm building with a committee, with the permission of President Benitez, an arts and culture series at AIC called The Glow. We're building that. There'll be 12 events over the course of a year, 4 to 6 fine arts events in our West Wing, a couple that will be student-based, 4 that will be community-based artists, 4 high-profile speakers in an interview format, and then 4 to 5 performing arts events in the theater every year to bring in the community, to engage the students. It would be free for students. Students could have internships with the program. I would have never thought of that if the theater program was the center of my life here. Still. We brought in an artist in residence, the Young at Heart Chorus. They're here every Thursday. They're in our theater from 10 to noon. They are a world-renowned chorus of individuals made up of people with lots of life experience, let's just say it, young at heart, I think they're 70 years old and plus. They've traveled all around the world. They've performed for the King and Queen of Norway. They've had a Amazon Prime documentary done about them. And now they're here in residence in our theater every Thursday. They're doing a performance on the 28th of April here. Nothing's like seeing and listening to an 85-year-old man singing the Bee Gees Staying Alive. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, holy crap, yeah. And the reason they wanted to partner with AIC, they have been based in Northampton for many years. They've had lots of interest from folks in the Mason Square community who wanted to be a part of this. People who represent all kinds of cultural diversity. Black and brown, Native American, English-speaking, non-English-speaking, gay, straight, you name it. In fact, in their formative years, drag queens played a considerable role in their choir, in their chorus. I mean, how fantastic is that?
That's interesting.
So they're here now.
Yeah.
That's opportunity for students. In the fall, there'll be an intern with them, right? So sometimes to create the opportunity for students, you have to look at what you're doing and say, this isn't working anymore. In order to develop opportunities for students, we have to do something different. It's all about the students. It's not about us.
Yeah.
It's that simple. All about the students. It's not about us.
I got one last question for you. Let me get you out of here. I know you're a very busy person.
Whatever.
So we just talked about, when you first got hired here, you're 12. Well, at the time you didn't know, but your goal to what you want AIC to be. What do you think your next 12 years, or what do you have in mind for the next 12 years?
Oh, God, I don't know. Stay alive. Make it through the presidential election. I don't know. To take better care of myself so I can be more effective and more available to students.
That's it. That's big. That's what you
That's
need.
big.
Because
I recently lost 6 pounds. Thank you very much.
listen,
And I'm going to continue to. I'm going to be a little skinny thing in the fall. You watch.
better than me.
About
I probably gained 6 this week alone.
So I lost it. You found it, is what you're saying? Okay.
I'm in your class every day, so that's probably what happened.
That's it. That's it.
Especially when you bought the donuts, there was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could do.
Yeah, if you take one of my classes, I bring donuts sometimes. So just a thought. Just a thought. This is not a recruitment effort or anything. Can I just say one last thing?
Go
Do you
ahead,
mind?
for sure.
It's a real pleasure being on this with you. Thank you for asking me. I'm very honored and very flattered. I'm very proud that you do this. And I hope that you pursue this. And I hope that anybody that listens to this is inspired by what you do, because you, Saleem, are putting your money where your mouth is. You know?
Yeah.
You want to clearly create a platform for other people to talk about themselves. You'd shared something with me the other day about the purpose of this. May I share that or no?
For sure.
You had talked about this podcast perhaps evolving into something slightly different than what it may have been, or being inspired by what it may have been, to be a podcast about the underdog.
Yeah.
You know, about the people that have made it through something and how they made it through something. And so I can say, if that's what you want to do, maybe I'll start that off. I've made it through things in my life for 2 reasons. One, I learned a long time ago that I am, without question, a child of God. For me, God is many things.
Yeah.
It's not just the Christian God. It's the universe, it's energy, it's all kinds of things. That there's something on my side. I know that. The other thing I know for sure is that I've led a very, very privileged life. And it is my responsibility to give that away. It's that simple.
Sure.
So how do people overcome? I can't speak for anyone else but myself, but I can just say I've overcome so far because of the love that people have given me and because I know there's something up there somewhere in the air on my side. I just know that.
For sure.
And if I can do any good for anybody, that's great. But that's for someone else to decide.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I think this is a very special place. I think we can all work together to do wonderful things. And whoever listens to this, a student, staff member, community member, if they need anything, if they want somebody to talk to, if they want to throw an idea out there, tell me about it. Let's talk about it. Let's break it down. Let's debate it. Let's make it happen. There's a lot of talking. Let's do more doing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very proud of you. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you, Frank. I appreciate your kind words. And it's an honor for me to get you on here. So you're second staff member? Second?
Who was the first?
Coach Conti.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you're probably second.
He seems like a good guy.
He is.
Yeah.
The only thing I gotta talk to him. It's not gonna change, but I just found out we're having practice from 6 to 8 a.m. That's Jesus.
Oh. Okay. Well, look, anything from me from 6 to 8 a.m. would be a deal breaker. But I just I've seen how the culture around football at the institution has changed.
For sure.
I think a lot of that has to do with him.
Not 100%.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand the game of football and the things that he had to go through to get us to this point. But I don't know if you watch college football at all.
I don't, unfortunately.
You ever heard of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders? He's
Oh, yes.
Colorado?
Yeah.
His famous saying is, "We coming."
We coming.
AIC Yellow Jackets are coming for sure.
We're coming.
Frank, I do appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Stay strong, everybody.
No,
We're going to get through it.
For sure. And the underdog thing I was telling you about, literally right after I came down here and I recorded the video for what you said.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was like 55 minutes long. I sent it to my mom, and she was like, "Oh, as always, you made me cry," but da-da-da. I'm like, all right, cool. So
she's proud.
Yeah. I try not to. Anything I get, I just give it to her. So I don't like looking at it. Like you, I don't like talking about myself. I don't like
Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I love talking about myself. Let me just put this in the camera. I love talking about myself. I do because I feel like I'm the only one that can.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
You're the only one that can talk about you.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that can talk about me.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't like people talking about how they feel about me in a good way. I don't like hearing it.
Oh, praise.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh,
can't take it.
yeah. I get that. For me, it's depends on who. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it doesn't. I can't do it at all. Mom, Dad, I guess. Thank you. I can't do it.
I hope that in life you can learn to accept it, though, because as I know, life can be very difficult,
For sure.
very unfair.
For sure.
Sometimes those compliments come few and far between. And often when people say it, they mean it. And they're being compelled to say it. So accept it. Because it can fuel you. It's not about being egotistical. It's not about being extra or any of that. It's just about saying, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For sure.
That's kind of you. I appreciate you saying that.
For sure.
Only the last few years have I said that. I was very much that way. Oh, no. Now it's, thank you so much. Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, I'm very, very flattered. Yeah. So,
Frank, I appreciate you coming to us to your conversations. Keep doing your thing here at AIC.
You too.
I'm going to try to stay here as long as
everybody else. Do the same.
Yeah.
Let's stick together. Let's figure out a way forward.
For sure.
You know, let's. We are a community. Doesn't mean we always have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we always have to agree, but it means that we coexist with each other. We work with each other, and we can help each other. We are the best people to help each other.
Nobody else.
You know?
For sure.
So AIC strong, friends.
For sure. Necessary Conversations. I'm your host, Saleem, and we are out.